Some players are remembered for trophies, some are remembered for goals. But Cristiano Ronaldo is remembered for something more dangerous than both. A mindset. A mindset so intense that opponents did not only fear his shot, his jump, or his speed, they feared the moment when the game became emotional. They feared the moment when the stadium turned against him. They feared the moment when everyone said he was finished. Because that was usually when Ronaldo became most dangerous. But the real story is not just how Ronaldo became great. The real story is how he built a mind that refused to accept normal limits. And in football, that can be more frightening than talent. Because talent can disappear under pressure. Confidence can break after failure. A young star can collapse when the crowd turns hostile. But Ronaldo did something very few players ever do. He turned pressure into fuel. Before the medals, before the records, before the global fame, there was a boy from Madeira trying to reach a football world that looked far away. He was not born inside the comfortable center of European football power. He had to leave home young. He had to grow up fast. And from the beginning, his journey carried one clear message. If he wanted to survive, being talented was not enough. He needed to be stronger than doubt. That is where the first part of Ronaldo's mindset was built. Not in a final, not in a packed stadium, but in the lonely years when nobody knew what he would become. The training, the sacrifice, the distance from family, the pressure to prove himself every single day. Most young players dream about applause. Ronaldo looked like a player who became addicted to improvement, and that is dangerous because a player who only wants applause can be stopped by criticism. But a player who wants improvement can use criticism like fire. When Ronaldo arrived at Manchester United, fans saw the tricks first. The step-overs, the speed, the confidence. The teenager who looked like he wanted to embarrass defenders. But what most fans missed was something deeper. He was learning how to become a machine. At first, he was not the finished version. He could be flashy, he could be raw, he could make mistakes. And in English football, mistakes are not hidden. They are punished. The tackles are hard. The criticism is loud. The media pressure is heavy. This is where many young players lose their magic. But Ronaldo did not shrink. He changed. He became stronger. He became sharper. He became more direct. He learned that beautiful football means nothing if it does not hurt the opponent. And slowly the winger who once wanted to entertain became a forward who wanted to destroy. That is when his mindset started to scare people. Because he was not just improving naturally, he was rebuilding himself on purpose. Every weakness became a target. If defenders pushed him around, he built his body. If people questioned his final ball, he improved his delivery. If people said he was only a dribbler, he became a scorer. If people said he could not decide big games, he chased big games like they owed him something. But the real problem for his rivals was not his talent. It was his memory. Ronaldo seemed to remember every insult, every doubt, every laugh, every headline that questioned him. And instead of letting those words break him, he carried them into the next match. That is why his celebrations felt bigger than goals. They felt like answers. And football fans understand this feeling. When a player scores, the scoreboard changes. But when a player scores after being doubted, the whole story changes. For Portugal, this mindset became even heavier. Because Ronaldo was not just playing for a club. He was carrying a country's hope. Every major tournament came with national pride. Every miss became bigger. Every defeat became personal. Every camera waited for his reaction. And when you are Cristiano Ronaldo, even silence becomes news. The World Cup made that pressure even sharper. Because the World Cup is not just another trophy, it is the stage where legends are judged forever. It is the tournament where one mistake can follow a player for years. One missed chance, one injury, one bad night, one elimination. And the story changes. For Ronaldo, the World Cup became the one mountain that always felt unfinished. He had Champions League glory. He had domestic titles. He had individual awards. He had nights where he looked impossible to stop. But the World Cup carried a different weight because it was tied to Portugal, to legacy, to the question fans could never stop asking. Can he do it on the biggest international stage? And this is where his mindset became both his greatest weapon and his heaviest burden. Because Ronaldo never looked like someone who wanted to simply participate. He wanted to dominate. He wanted the final word. He wanted the moment where the world had no choice but to respect him. But football is cruel. Sometimes the harder you chase the perfect ending, the more painful the story becomes. In 2016, Portugal won the European Championship, and Ronaldo's final was cut short by injury. He could not finish the match on the pitch, but he remained emotionally involved from the side. That image became part of his legend, because even when his body could not continue, his presence still burned through the team. That is mindset. Not just scoring, not just running, not just celebrating, it is refusing to disappear from the story. Then came the nights that reminded everyone why he was feared. Against Spain in the 2018 World Cup, Ronaldo scored a hat-trick in a 3-3 draw, including a late free kick that became one of the defining images of his international career. It was the perfect example of his danger. The match was almost gone. The pressure was enormous. The world was watching. And Ronaldo did what Ronaldo always tried to do. He made the final moment belong to him. But what most fans missed was something deeper. That night was not only about technique, it was about belief under pressure. Many players can take a free kick. Very few can take it when the entire match, the entire country, and the entire conversation around their legacy is sitting on the ball. That is why Ronaldo's mindset feels different. He does not seem to wait for pressure to leave. He invites it closer. But every dangerous mindset has a cost. When you build your whole identity around winning, every loss cuts deeper. When you demand greatness from yourself, every human mistake feels like failure. And when millions of fans expect miracles, even a normal performance can feel like disappointment. That is the hidden danger of Ronaldo's story. His greatest strength also made the pressure around him almost impossible. For years, fans did not ask whether he could help Portugal. They asked whether he could save Portugal. They did not ask whether he could score. They expected him to score. They did not ask whether he could lead. They demanded that he lead. And when expectations become that high, a player is not judged like a player anymore. He is judged like a symbol. That is why every World Cup chapter around Ronaldo has felt emotional. It is not just football, it is pride. It is age. It is legacy. It is the fear that time might win before the dream does. The saddest part of football is that even the strongest mindset cannot control everything. It cannot control injuries. It cannot control teammates' mistakes. It cannot control a referee's decision. It cannot control the bounce of the ball. It cannot control age forever. But it can control one thing: the refusal to surrender. And that is why Ronaldo's story still pulls people in. Even people who do not support him watch him closely because they want to know what happens when a man who built his life around proving people wrong reaches the final chapters of his career. Will there be one more answer? One more comeback? One more night where the crowd thinks the story is over? And then he makes it dangerous again? That is what separates Ronaldo from ordinary greatness. Many players are talented. Many players work hard. Many players win trophies, but very few players turn their entire personality into a weapon. Ronaldo built his mindset through rejection, pressure, criticism, obsession, and the fear of being forgotten. He trained like someone being chased. He played like someone trying to settle a debt with history. And he celebrated like every goal was a message to everyone who doubted him. That is why opponents never only faced his football. They faced his belief. And belief can be terrifying. Because when a player believes this deeply, the score never feels safe. The clock never feels finished. The favorite never feels comfortable. The underdog never feels dead. And the next match always carries the possibility of something dramatic. This is why Ronaldo's mindset became one of the most dangerous in football. Not because he never lost, but because every loss seemed to create another version of him. A more focused version, a more ruthless version. A version that came back with something to prove. And maybe that is the lesson behind the entire story. Ronaldo's career was not built only on beautiful football. It was built on an uncomfortable truth. Greatness is not always calm. Sometimes greatness is angry. Sometimes it is lonely. Sometimes it is obsessive. Sometimes it comes from the fear of being told you are not enough, and Ronaldo used that fear better than almost anyone. So, when fans talk about his legacy, the goals matter, the trophies matter, the records matter, but the mindset may be the part that lasts longest. Because long after the final whistle, people will still remember the player who refused to look defeated, the player who treated doubt like fuel, the player who made pressure feel like home, and the player who showed football that sometimes the most dangerous weapon on the pitch is not the strongest foot. It is the strongest mind. If you want more World Cup stories like this, subscribe and watch the next breakdown.